take a seat. Ena mana, ena reo, ena hoa wha, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Dawn Freshwater tako ingoa I o rangi o Waipapa Taumata Rau. Good evening, my name's Dawn Freshwater and I'm the Vice-Chancellor of this fine institution, the University of Auckland. Council members, staff and special guests of the University of Auckland, as Vice-Chancellor of the University, allow me to extend a warm welcome to you all. And let me particularly welcome the family and friends of today's recipient, the honorary degree. This is a meeting of the Council of the University of Auckland in convocation for the purpose of conferring honorary degrees. The university takes great pleasure in conferring a posthumous honorary doctorate on Bruce Leslie McLaren, a distinguished member of our community, in recognition of the service he gave to New Zealand, to his profession and industry, and to the university. And off script, I can think of no better place to be making this award this evening at the Newmarket campus. Celebratory occasions such as today's are special in the life of the university, and we thank all of you who've joined us from near and far to participate. This year, the university will have awarded some 10,000 degrees over many ceremonies, and that's to those who've studied for our undergraduate and our postgraduate programs. That's an impressive reminder of the value we add to many, mostly young, members of society. Today's ceremony, though, is rather more intimate than the ones we are usually holding, with only one graduand as opposed to the usual 900 or so. Nevertheless, it's no less important for being smaller. Previous honorary graduates of the university have included Sir Graham Douglas, Marty Friedlander, Ramari Stewart, His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, then Secretary-General of the United Nations, and recently Kate Edgar, the first woman in New Zealand to be conferred with a degree. Today's graduand is thus in excellent company. I should now like to invite the university's Dean of Engineering, Professor Gerard Rowe, to deliver the eulogy for Bruce McLaren.
Bruce Leslie McLaren, intuitive engineer, innovator, and motorsport legend. When University of Auckland engineering student Bruce McLaren won the first New Zealand International Grand Prix Association's Driver to Europe scholarship, it changed his life and the international car racing industry. In 1959, at the age of 22, he became the youngest winner of a World Championship Formula One Grand Prix, a record that remained unbroken for 44 years. Just 4 years later, he established Bruce McLaren Motor Racing Limited, initially designing, building and racing cars for the New Zealand, Australian, Tasman Summer Series. With Kiwi teammate Denny Holm, he dominated the North American Can-Am Championship Series from 1966 to 1970, a record cut short by his death in June 1970 while testing his latest Can-Am car. He was just 32. McLaren was a competitive driver, but his legacy, the McLaren racing team, stems from his abilities as an analyst, engineer, and manager. In the early days of McLaren sports cars, McLaren was testing, and as he drove out of the pits, he noticed the fuel filler access door was flapping up and down as he drove. The current aerodynamic thinking was that it should have been pressed more firmly in place as the speed of the car increased. Instead, it bounced more vigorously as the speed increased. Instantly, his frustration at the sloppy work changed, and he had an insight. Stopping in the pits, he grabbed a pair of shears and started cutting the bodywork away behind the radiator. Climbing back in the car, he immediately began turning lap times faster than before. Later, he explained, "I was first angry that the filler door hadn't been properly closed, but then I began to wonder why it wasn't being pressed down by the airflow. The only answer was that there had to be a source of higher pressure air under it than over it." From that session came the nostrils that have been a key McLaren design feature, including in the McLaren P1 road car. McLaren Racing went on to become the most successful and influential Formula One team of the latter part of the 20th century, winning a total of 8 World Constructors' Championships and 12 World Drivers' Championships after McLaren's passing. In his book, McLaren wrote the following prophetic words about the fatal crash of driver Timmy Mayer, which could well have been his own epitaph. "The news that he had died instantly was a terrible shock to all of us, but who is to say that he had not seen more, done more, and learned more in his few years than many people do in a lifetime? To do something well is so worthwhile that to die trying to do it better cannot be foolhardy. It would be a waste of a life to do nothing with one's ability, for I feel that life is measured in achievement, not in years alone." Bruce's name and visionary spirit continue today with the McLaren Group, encompassing McLaren Racing, which competes internationally in Formula One, IndyCar, International Endurance Racing and Formula E, and McLaren Automotive, which manufactures high-performance and highly sought-after supercars. He leaves an impressive legacy for anyone, let alone a man whose life was cut so cruelly short at such a young age. We are honoured to have here today Amanda, Bruce McLaren's daughter. Vice-Chancellor, I present Amanda McLaren to receive the degree of Doctor of Engineering honoris causa in the name of Bruce Leslie McLaren.
By the authority vested in me as Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor by resolution of the Council of the University of Auckland, I now confer a posthumous degree of Doctor of Engineering honoris causa on Bruce Leslie McLaren, to be received by Ms. Amanda McLaren. I now invite Ms. McLaren to address the convocation.
Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you, each and every one of you, for what is happening here this afternoon. They say that every cloud has a silver lining. When my father was 9 years old, a very dark cloud descended upon him. He was diagnosed with Perthes disease, a degenerative condition in the hip joint, and the treatment at the time was to immobilize the young children on a frame in traction, where my father spent 2 years. He had to say goodbye to his ambition of being an All Black and representing New Zealand internationally, playing rugby. However, in his autobiography, he wrote, "All this was forgotten in the excitement of putting the finishing touches on the Ulster." The Ulster Austin was the racing version of the Austin 7, and it had been bought by Pop, my father's father, and is now actually on display in the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking, England. But in his autobiography, my father continued, Pop set off on a trial run, where he eventually brought the smoking Ulster to a halt. He was pale and shaken. He said it went all right, but it wouldn't stop, it wouldn't steer, and as for the handling, words failed him. The prospect of racing the Ulster appalled Pop, and he was all for selling it forthwith. After all the work we had put into the car, it seemed a shame to drop it like that. Besides, it interfered with my plans to become a racing driver. After lengthy pleading from various suitable angles, Pop finally relented, providing I look after it myself. This, I think, was the silver lining. My father went on to say, I wouldn't like to say that a hot Ulster 7 is a short trip ticket to a Formula One racing car, but that Ulster taught me a lot. And it's really where he graduated into his love of engineering. He made many modifications to that car, and by the time he parted company with it, he says it was barely recognisable as the car he'd been given. During this time, he was undertaking an undergraduate degree in engineering, but he actually didn't graduate. His Auckland University student record card reads, "Went motor racing." And as we heard, after winning the Driver to Europe scholarship, the rest is the history we've been hearing about. So despite an untimely death, aged 32, his contribution to the field of engineering in both road and racing cars was remarkable and is being recognised today. I would specifically like to thank a number of people. Chancellor Celia Tarrant and the University of Auckland Council, our Vice-Chancellor Dawn Freshwater, the Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Gerard Rowe, Graham Stevens, Development Manager in the Faculty of Engineering, the Manager of the Graduation Office, Margaret Cranigan-Allen, and her team for organising this ceremony, Mark Bentley, the Director of Alumni Relations and Development, and the UK Friends of the University of Auckland in London, Eric Tracy, their chair, Rob Whitehouse, and Keith Holland, for their perseverance and persistence in championing an honorary degree for my father. It has been my pleasure and privilege to accept the award on his behalf this afternoon, and I'm sure he would be truly humbled and honoured. Thank you.
Kia ora, Amanda, and thank you for that wonderful response. Now, this concludes the meeting of Council in convocation for the award of the posthumous honorary degree. Thank you all for joining us for this important ceremony. We look forward to you joining us and celebrating with some refreshments, which we're also going to take here. I'd like to invite you all to stand as the official party leaves the stage. This is the stage. And we'll be walking out with the mace. And as we walk out, I think there's going to be some rearrangements of the deck chairs, so they say. And we're going to be enjoying some celebration and refreshments together this afternoon, an opportunity to engage with each other and share in the life and the story of this wonderful family, and particularly in recognition of Bruce. Kia ora.